Have you ever wondered what separates a life of quiet desperation from a life of thunderous achievement? Look closely. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not the circumstances you were born into. It's something far more powerful, something invisible, something that lives and breathes inside of you this very moment. Imagine two seeds planted in the very same soil, given the same sun, the same water, the same chance at life. One grows timidly, its roots shallow, its leaves small, forever struggling in the shadow of the weeds around it. The other explodes from the earth. Its roots dig deep, breaking through rock and claiming their ground. Its trunk thickens into an unbreakable pillar. Its branches reach for the heavens, becoming a titan of the forest, a shelter for others, a testament to what is possible. They both started with the same potential. So what was the difference? The difference was the internal architect, the silent gardener tending to the soil of the mind. One allowed the weeds of doubt, fear, and negativity to choke its growth. The other learned to cultivate its inner world with discipline, to pull the weeds, to nourish the soil, and to direct its growth with an unwavering vision. That silent gardener is your mind. And right now, it is either your greatest ally, pushing you toward a future so bright it feels unimaginable, or it is your most insidious enemy, whispering limitations into your soul and keeping you trapped in a reality far beneath your potential. Every single victory you've ever celebrated, every heartbreaking failure you've ever endured, every flash of genius and every moment of paralyzing setback, they all began in the exact same place. They began as a single, solitary thought. Your thoughts are the architects of your reality. They are the brushstrokes that paint the canvas of your life, the chisel that carves the statue of your destiny. Yet in a world that teaches us how to do everything else, almost no one ever teaches us how to think. We are handed this godlike power, this universe between our ears, and we let it run wild. We allow it to wander into dark alleys of negativity, to get lost in the fog of doubt, to be hijacked by the noise and chaos of the outside world. Have you ever felt it? The relentless storm of overthinking that paralyzes you from taking action, the impulsive surge of emotion that leads to a decision you instantly regret, the constant draining struggle to keep your focus on a single goal while 1,000 distractions scream for your attention? You are not alone in this fight. The modern world is a battlefield for your mind, meticulously designed with triggers, notifications, and endless streams of clutter meant to keep you weak, distracted, and far from the throne of your own greatness. But here is the profound and life-altering truth. You can seize the reins. You can train this wild force. You can discipline your mind to serve you, not sabotage you. The titans of history, the men and women whose names are etched into the stone of eternity, were not simply lucky. They were not born with something you lack. They were masters of their own minds. And that mastery, that incredible power, is exactly what I am here to share with you today. I am going to guide you through the sacred art of disciplining your thinking, of shattering the mental cages that have held you captive. I am going to show you how to forge a mindset so powerful, so focused, and so resilient that success becomes not a hope, but an inevitability. Stay with me. Give me these next few minutes, and I will hand you the keys to 7 timeless disciplines of thought that will fundamentally reshape how you see yourself, your challenges, and the boundless opportunities that await you. Your transformation begins now. Let us begin with the very foundation of your existence, the programming of your mind. Your mind is not just a computer, it is a living, breathing garden. Every single day, thoughts are planted within it, either by you or by the world around you. If you unconsciously allow the seeds of negativity, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs to be sown, your life will yield a harvest of hesitation, failure, and deep-seated frustration. You will look at the world through a lens of scarcity and see only the reasons why you cannot succeed. But if you consciously choose the seeds you plant, seeds of positive belief, of unwavering focus, of strategic and intelligent action, you can cultivate a life of such abundance and power that it will astonish you. The most liberating news is that it doesn't matter what your garden looks like today. It doesn't matter if it's overgrown with the weeds of past failures or if the soil is dry from years of neglect. You and you alone hold the power to replant it. From the moment we draw our first breath, our minds are being programmed. Our families, our culture, our teachers, our earliest experiences, they all install the initial software. Some of these programs are incredibly helpful, teaching us love and courage, but many others install silent viruses, self-doubt, the fear of judgment, and a whole host of limiting beliefs that operate in the shadows of our subconscious, holding us back from our true potential. Think back for a moment. How many times as a child with a big dream did you hear a well-meaning but fearful adult say, "Oh, be realistic," or "That's just not for people like us"? How many times have you scrolled through the lives of others and felt the whisper of, "I'm not good enough"? These are not harmless phrases. They are insidious seeds. Over time, they sprout into thorny weeds that become the invisible fences of our lives, dictating our choices and sabotaging our actions before we even begin. The first, most courageous step in disciplining your thinking is to become a ruthless gardener. You must identify and rip out the mental roadblocks that have been programmed into your subconscious. This begins with an unflinching audit of your self-talk. Listen, truly listen to the voice inside your head. When you face a challenge, does it whisper, "I'm not smart enough for this," or "I always mess things up"? These are not facts. They are nothing more than worn-out mental habits, old neural pathways that can be completely rewired. Your brain possesses a miraculous quality known as neuroplasticity, which means it can be physically reshaped and rewired at any age. Your mind is not set in stone. It is clay, waiting for your hands. Just as you train a muscle in the gym, you can train your mind to think with power and conviction. One of the most potent tools for this reprogramming is the relentless use of affirmations and visualization. The greatest achievers who ever walked this earth were not just dreamers. They were mental architects. Look at the legendary Muhammad Ali. Long before the world called him the greatest, long before he held a single championship belt, he was in a dimly lit gym, sweat stinging his eyes, repeating it to himself like a sacred mantra, "I am the greatest." This was not arrogance. It was a profound act of mental engineering. He was installing the software of a champion before the hardware was even proven. When you feed your subconscious mind powerful, positive statements day in and day out, it has no choice but to begin accepting them as your new reality. Instead of allowing the thought, "I'm terrible at this," you consciously replace it with, "I am capable of learning and mastering anything I set my mind to." Instead of the poison of, "I'll probably fail," you administer the antidote, "My success is inevitable because my growth is constant." Another critical practice is the mental detox. You must become fiercely protective of what you allow into your mind. Take a brutally honest look at your daily consumption. Are you starting your day with a diet of fear-mongering news, mind-numbing social media feeds, and conversations that revolve around complaint and gossip? If so, you are poisoning your garden. The thoughts you consume will inevitably become the reality you create. It's time for a cleanse. Purge the toxic influences. Unfollow the negativity. Mute the cynics. And then intentionally begin to fill your mind with content that fuels your growth. Powerful books, insightful podcasts, and conversations that challenge you, stretch you, and elevate your thinking. Furthermore, the people you surround yourself with are not just companions. They are the gardeners of your mind. There is an old saying that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your circle is filled with those who complain, doubt, and have settled for a life of mediocrity, their mindset will seep into yours like a slow-acting poison. But if you immerse yourself in an environment of ambitious, disciplined, and forward-thinking individuals, you will find yourself naturally adopting their standards and their beliefs. Seek out mentors, study the biographies of successful people, and join communities where high-level thinking is the norm. Here is a practical exercise to begin this transformation today, the thought audit. For one full day, carry a small notebook or use an app on your phone and write down every single negative, self-defeating thought that enters your mind. At the end of the day, review that list. Now, ask yourself one simple, devastating question. Would I ever say these cruel things to someone I love? If the answer is a resounding no, then why on earth are you saying them to yourself? Challenge each thought, argue with it, and then one by one replace it with a belief that empowers you. Reprogramming your mind is not a quick fix. It is a lifelong commitment to cultivating a fertile ground for success. But it is, without question, the most valuable investment you will ever make. Every thought you entertain is either building your future kingdom or digging its grave. Make the conscious, disciplined choice to install a mindset that fuels greatness. Because when you finally change your thinking, you will, in every conceivable way, change your life. Now, let us discuss a power so rare in our modern world that possessing it almost guarantees an unfair advantage. It is the power of focus. In a world that has become a relentless carnival of distractions, the ability to concentrate deeply and for extended periods is not just a skill, it is a superpower. We live in an age of digital bombardment, where notifications flash, feeds scroll infinitely, and entertainment is always just one click away, promising instant gratification. The result is not just dangerous, it is catastrophic. It is creating a generation plagued by fractured attention spans, an inability to engage in the deep, meaningful work required for mastery, and a constant gnawing difficulty in achieving any significant long-term goals. But let this truth sink into your very bones. Without focus, even the most brilliant and talented individual on earth will fail to touch the outer edges of their potential. Focus is the narrow channel through which all great achievement must pass. It is the magnifying glass that concentrates the sun's rays into a single, white-hot point capable of starting a fire. Disciplining your mind to concentrate on what truly matters is one of the most profound skills you can ever hope to develop. If you peel back the layers of history and study the lives of the most impactful figures, the inventors, the artists, the leaders, you will find one trait they all shared. They were absolute masters of deep, uninterrupted focus. Consider the mind of Nikola Tesla. He was legendary for his intense, almost superhuman ability to concentrate on his inventions for hours, even days, without interruption. He could construct, deconstruct, and perfect entire complex machines in the pristine laboratory of his mind before a single piece of metal was ever forged. It was this unwavering, laser-like focus that allowed him to bend the very forces of nature to his will and gift the world with innovations that still power our lives today. Now, compare that level of mental command to the average person in our time, who feels a phantom vibration in their pocket and cannot resist the urge to check their phone for more than a few minutes. The difference is not one of intellect, it is one of discipline. Focused minds create revolutions. Distracted minds create very little. The greatest adversary of focus is not the external world, it is internal mental clutter. It is the state of having too many thoughts, worries, and tasks all competing for your limited attention at once. Think about it honestly. How many times have you sat down to work on a truly important project, only to find yourself minutes later mindlessly checking emails, toggling between 10 different browser tabs, or falling down the rabbit hole of social media? This behavior has a name, context switching, and it is the silent assassin of productivity. Every single time you shift your attention from one task to another, your brain is forced to disengage and then expend precious energy to reorient itself to the new task. Scientific studies have shown that this constant multitasking can obliterate your productivity by as much as 40%. Let that number sink in. If you are constantly jumping from one thing to another, you are willingly operating at less than half of your true cognitive potential. So how do you reclaim this power? How do you train your mind to hold its gaze? The first step is to become an architect of your environment. You must mercilessly eliminate distractions. Create a sanctuary that is consecrated to deep concentration. If your phone is the primary culprit, its constant buzzing a siren's call to mediocrity, then banish it. Put it in another room while you work. If the noise of the world intrudes, invest in noise-canceling headphones or find a quiet corner of a library. If social media is your weakness, install apps that block distracting websites during your dedicated work sessions. Your physical environment is a direct reflection of your mental environment. Set yourself up for victory by removing the temptations before they have a chance to steal your most valuable asset, your attention. Another immensely powerful technique is the Pomodoro method, a simple yet profound system for working in focused sprints, punctuated by short, rejuvenating breaks. The process is elegant in its simplicity. You set a timer for a period, say 25 to 50 minutes, and during that time, you commit to working on a single predetermined task with absolute monastic focus. When the timer rings, you take a short 5-minute break to stretch, breathe, or simply let your mind wander. After 4 of these focused sessions, you reward yourself with a longer break of 15 to 30 minutes before beginning the cycle again. This method does more than just manage your time. It actively trains your brain's ability to concentrate deeply for sustained periods while strategically avoiding the mental fatigue that leads to burnout. Countless high achievers use this system to unlock hours of peak productivity and maintain a razor-sharp focus throughout their day. But focus is not just about what you do, it is also about what you don't do. A critical element of disciplined thinking is knowing precisely what to focus on. Many people are incredibly busy, yet tragically unproductive. Their days are a whirlwind of reacting to emails, attending pointless meetings, and tackling low-value tasks. They end the day utterly exhausted, yet they have made no meaningful progress on their most significant goals. To escape this trap, you must live by the 80-20 principle, which states that, in many cases, 80% of your results will come from just 20% of your activities. You must constantly ask yourself the hard questions. Which of my tasks are truly moving the needle closer to my biggest goals? What is the single most valuable and leveraged use of my time right now? Am I being productive, or am I just being busy? Truly successful people are ruthless in their prioritization. They identify their most important activities and then fiercely protect their time and focus by saying a firm no to almost everything else. The legendary investor Warren Buffett once shared a beautifully simple yet profoundly effective strategy for focus. He advised making a list of your top 25 life goals, then circle your top 5, and then avoid the other 20 at all costs. Why? Because the greatest enemy of your focus is not just the obvious time-wasting distractions. It's the good opportunities that seduce you away from the truly great ones. A major component of developing this intense focus is also conditioning the brain itself through practices like mindfulness and meditation. Elite performers in every field, from Olympic athletes to Navy SEALs, use visualization and meditation as non-negotiable parts of their training to strengthen the muscle of concentration. Even just 5 to 10 minutes of daily meditation can dramatically sharpen your focus, reduce stress, and enhance your ability to consciously direct your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. Finally, disciplining your focus means cultivating the art of being fully present in whatever you are doing. Whether you are working on a project, having a conversation with a loved one, or simply enjoying a meal, be there 100%. Most people live in a state of perpetual mental absence, physically in one place but mentally adrift in another, worrying about the future or ruminating on the past. When you practice being fully engaged in each moment, you not only elevate your performance in every area of your life, but you also discover a deeper sense of fulfillment and joy. Focus is not a gift you're born with. It is a skill you must forge in the fires of daily practice. The more you train your mind to remain disciplined and anchored, the easier and more natural it becomes. The world will always be filled with distractions, but it is only those who learn to master their focus who will ever achieve the extraordinary. Train your mind to serve you, eradicate the distractions, commit to the profound power of deep, disciplined thinking. Your entire future depends on it. Now we must turn to the very heart of human experience, the powerful, often chaotic force that can either propel you to greatness or drag you into the depths of failure, your emotions. Your emotions are pure energy. When harnessed and disciplined, they can fuel unimaginable ambition, forge unbreakable bonds with others, and give you the strength to push far beyond your perceived limits. They are the wind in your sails. But when left unchecked, when allowed to run rampant and wild, they become a tempest. They will make you impulsive, dangerously reactive, and easily manipulated by the fleeting circumstances of your life. The ability to discipline your emotions, to achieve what is known as emotional mastery, is one of the most critical and defining aspects of a disciplined mind. Without it, you will forever be a ship without a rudder, tossed about on the violent seas of your feelings, allowing temporary moods to make permanent, life-altering decisions. Think for a moment about the times in your life when you acted purely on an emotional impulse. Perhaps a flash of anger caused you to say something so hurtful that it irrevocably damaged a relationship. Or maybe a wave of fear paralyzed you, causing you to shrink away from an opportunity that, in hindsight, could have changed the entire trajectory of your life. These reactions are a natural part of the human experience, but if you do not train yourself to manage these powerful energies effectively, they will control you rather than you controlling them. The magnificent truth, however, is that emotional discipline is a skill, not an innate trait. It is not something you are born with or without. Just like focus, just like intelligence, it can be developed, strengthened, and refined through conscious, deliberate practice over time. One of the simplest yet most transformative habits of emotional discipline is learning to create a space, a sacred pause, between a stimulus and your response. People who lack emotional control often react instantaneously to situations. They operate on a hair trigger, allowing anger, frustration, jealousy, or even irrational excitement to dictate their choices without a single thought for the consequences. But those who have mastered the art of emotional discipline understand the godlike power of the pause. Before responding to a provocative email, a criticism, or a stressful event, they take a deep, centering breath. They allow the initial emotional wave to crest and pass. They process the information logically, and then they choose the most intelligent and effective response, instead of being driven by a knee-jerk impulse. This small, almost imperceptible habit, practiced consistently, can single-handedly transform your relationships, your career, your decision-making, and your personal growth. A masterful example of this discipline comes from the life of Abraham Lincoln. Early in his career, Lincoln was known for his fiery temper. When he felt slighted or angry, he had a habit of writing scathing, heated letters to his adversaries, pouring all of his raw emotion onto the page. However, instead of immediately sending them, he would fold them, place them in a drawer, and wait. He called them his hot letters. Most of the time, he never sent them at all. By the next day, his emotional storm had passed, his clarity had returned, and he realized that an impulsive, angry response was not only unnecessary, but would have been deeply counterproductive. This simple technique, channeling your emotions into writing, but refusing to act on them immediately, can save you from a lifetime of regrettable decisions. Another crucial pillar of emotional discipline is the ability to detach your actions from your temporary feelings and anchor them instead to your long-term commitments. So many people fail to reach their goals because they make their daily decisions based on how they feel in the moment, rather than on the grander vision they have for their lives. For example, a person who is committed to transforming their health may skip a workout simply because they don't feel like it. An entrepreneur with a brilliant idea may procrastinate on the most critical tasks because they don't feel motivated that day. This is the precise juncture where emotional discipline separates the wildly successful from the perpetually average. Successful people act based on their commitments, not their fleeting emotions. They understand with absolute clarity that motivation is a fickle and unreliable friend, but discipline is a rock. It is always within their control. One of the most effective ways to build this emotional fortitude is through the practice of mental reframing, the conscious act of choosing to see challenges and setbacks in a more empowering light. Instead of viewing a failure as a devastating verdict on their worth, emotionally disciplined individuals see it simply as feedback, as data. Instead of becoming frustrated and defeated by small obstacles, they choose to see them as training, as stepping stones to improvement and strength. The legendary basketball coach John Wooden had a simple yet profound philosophy. Things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out. This subtle but powerful shift in perspective is a superpower. It can help you manage stress, conquer adversity, and maintain an unwavering focus on what truly matters. To truly forge emotional discipline, you must also practice controlled exposure to discomfort. One of the primary reasons people struggle with emotional control is that their entire lives are engineered to avoid difficult or uncomfortable situations. But the paradox is this: the more you expose yourself to discomfort, the stronger your emotional resilience becomes. This is the core principle behind the extreme training of elite military units like the Navy SEALs. They are deliberately subjected to unimaginable physical and psychological stress. This relentless training conditions their minds to remain calm, clear, and focused under the most intense pressure imaginable. You don't need to endure military training to develop this emotional toughness, but you can start small by intentionally embracing discomfort in your daily life. Whether it's taking a cold shower in the morning, having a conversation you've been avoiding, or pushing through the last few reps at the gym when your mind is screaming to quit. Instead of retreating from discomfort, you lean into it. Another profoundly simple yet effective strategy for mastering your emotions in real time is mindful breathing. When you feel the storm of anger, anxiety, or overwhelm beginning to gather, bring your entire focus to the physical sensation of your breath. Slow, deep, diaphragmatic breaths send a powerful signal to your nervous system that you are safe and in control. This physiological shift allows your rational mind to come back online, enabling you to make intelligent choices rather than emotional ones. Many of the world's top performers, from professional athletes facing a game-winning shot to CEOs navigating a corporate crisis, use these breathing techniques to stay composed and clear-headed in high-stakes situations. Lastly, it is crucial to remember that emotional discipline does not mean suppressing your emotions. That is a path to illness and dysfunction. It means understanding them, acknowledging them, and managing them effectively. Ignoring or bottling up your feelings can be just as destructive as acting on them impulsively. The key is to develop a relationship with your emotions. Acknowledge what you feel without judgment. Then analyze why you are feeling that way. What is this emotion trying to tell me? And finally, decide on the most constructive course of action. Mastering your emotions is one of the greatest strengths you can ever hope to develop. It allows you to remain a pillar of calm in the midst of chaos, to make decisions with wisdom and clarity, and to build relationships founded on trust and respect. When you learn to discipline your emotions, you become unshakable. No setback, no criticism, and no temporary feeling can ever derail you from your chosen path. Your emotions are a powerful force, but when you learn to manage them, instead of allowing them to manage you, you gain the ultimate advantage in the game of life. Success, you see, isn't just a product of raw effort. It isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter. Countless people grind away day after day, week after week, believing that sheer relentless effort is the magic key that will unlock the doors to their dreams. Yet they find themselves stuck, running on a treadmill, exhausted and demoralized, in the exact same place year after year. Do you know what the missing ingredient is? It's the art of strategic thinking. Without a clear, intelligent plan, even the most dedicated and hard-working individual can waste years of their precious life chasing the wrong things, climbing the wrong ladder. Strategic thinking is the invisible force that separates those who struggle endlessly from those who seem to achieve their goals with a sense of grace and efficiency. It is the ability to rise above the fray of daily urgencies, to see the entire chessboard, to anticipate future challenges, and to make calculated, high-leverage decisions that propel you towards your ultimate vision with maximum velocity. Think of a master chess player. A novice thinks only about their next move. A slightly better player might think one or two moves ahead, but a grandmaster thinks 10, 15, 20 moves in advance. They are not just playing the board in front of them. They are playing a multitude of potential futures in their mind, predicting how each and every action will cascade and influence the final outcome. This exact principle applies to the grand game of life. Those who think strategically don't just react to the immediate events and problems that scream for their attention. They are proactively architecting their future. They are planning for what's coming next and the next and the next. This uncanny ability to anticipate and prepare is what gives them a seemingly unfair advantage over those who are content to simply go with the flow, tossed about by the currents of circumstance. A perfect historical embodiment of strategic thinking is Napoleon Bonaparte. He wasn't revered as one of history's greatest generals simply because his armies fought hard. He was a genius because he was a master strategist. He possessed an almost supernatural ability to anticipate his enemies' moves, to identify their weaknesses, and to plan his own counterattacks long before the first cannon was ever fired. While others were reactive, caught off guard by the changing tides of battle, he was proactive. He was always thinking 3 steps ahead, which led to his astonishing and rapid military success. The same principle governs your own goals. If you don't deliberately and strategically plan your next steps, then life, with its endless distractions and demands, will dictate them for you. So how can you begin to cultivate this powerful discipline of strategic thinking in your own life? It all begins with one non-negotiable prerequisite: a crystal clear vision. The vast majority of people wander through life like ships without a destination, drifting aimlessly on the ocean of time. They wake up, they react to their emails, they solve the immediate problems that are on fire, and they hope that somehow things will magically work out for the best. But without a clearly defined destination, you cannot possibly create a roadmap. Imagine trying to drive across the country without a map, a GPS, or even a general idea of which state you're headed to. You would waste countless hours, gallons of fuel, and immense emotional energy lost on dead-end roads. That is precisely how most people live their lives, reacting to the potholes of daily life instead of steering themselves confidently towards a predetermined and inspiring goal. To correct this, you must define your vision with breathtaking specificity. Carve out time to sit in silence and ask yourself the deep questions. What does true success look like for me in 5 years, in 10 years? What does it feel like? What milestones must I achieve to get there? What are the potential obstacles, the dragons that could stand in my way, and how can I begin preparing for them now? This is the work of a true strategic thinker. They don't just set vague goals, they anticipate the friction points and engineer solutions in advance. Instead of being demoralized by challenges when they arise, they are prepared for them, often with a contingency plan already in place. Another potent tool for the strategic thinker is the discipline of reverse engineering. Instead of starting from where you are today and vaguely hoping to move forward, you start with the end in mind. Begin with a crystal clear image of your ultimate goal. Where do you want to be? Who do you want to become? Then work backward from that future reality. Identify the major milestones, the critical steps that are absolutely necessary to reach that point. Then break each of those major steps down into smaller, more manageable, actionable tasks. Finally, schedule those specific tasks into your daily, weekly, and monthly routines. This methodical approach eradicates the overwhelm and confusion that paralyzes so many. It ensures that every single action you take, every single day, is a deliberate stone being laid on the path to your goal. For instance, if your dream is to build a successful business, instead of randomly dabbling with ideas, you reverse engineer the process. 1. Identify a profitable market with a real problem. 2. Develop a minimum viable product or service to solve that problem. 3. Test it with a small group of real customers. 4. Gather feedback and refine the offering. 5. Scale up based on what is proven to work. Each step is intentional, calculated, and designed to minimize wasted time, money, and energy. One of the greatest thieves of strategic progress is getting trapped in survival mode, a state of constantly dealing with urgent short-term problems at the expense of important long-term growth. Successful people understand this trap and actively work to escape it. They learn to delegate, automate, or simply eliminate the low-value tasks and distractions that do not serve their ultimate vision. They apply the 80-20 rule with ruthless consistency, focusing their precious energy on the 20% of high-impact activities that will produce 80% of their desired results. To think strategically, you must also cultivate the quality of adaptability. Life is fluid and unpredictable. Even the most brilliant plans will encounter unexpected turbulence. The key is not to have a rigid, unbreakable plan, but to have a clear destination and the flexibility to adjust your course along the way. If a particular strategy isn't yielding results, don't stubbornly cling to it out of ego. Pivot. Analyze the data, learn from the feedback, and find a better way. This mental flexibility is what allows strategic thinkers to stay ahead of the curve while others remain stuck in outdated and ineffective patterns. Finally, a great strategy demands that your decisions be guided by logic, not by volatile emotions. When people make impulsive choices driven by fear, irrational exuberance, or frustration, they almost always come to regret them. Strategic thinkers, however, take their time. They gather information, they weigh the potential outcomes, they consult with trusted advisors, and they make calculated moves that serve their grander vision. They never allow a temporary emotional storm to dictate their long-term trajectory. In the end, your success in life will not be a measure of how much effort you expended. It will be a measure of how intelligently you planned, how effectively you executed, and how wisely you adapted along the way. If you want to achieve results that are beyond the ordinary, you must learn to think several steps ahead of the game. Begin developing the habit of strategic thinking today. See the whole board, plan your moves, and soon you will find your life moving forward with a newfound sense of clarity, unstoppable momentum, and profound purpose. Life will test you. This is not a possibility, it is a guarantee. No matter how intelligent you are, no matter how talented, no matter how meticulously you plan, you will face challenges. You will encounter failures, you will be knocked down by setbacks. These are inevitable parts of the human journey. The real question, the one that will ultimately define the entire course of your life, is not whether you will face adversity, but how you will respond when it arrives. This is the moment where mental resilience becomes your most precious and powerful asset. Mental resilience is the forged-in-fire ability to remain strong, to adapt, and to relentlessly keep moving forward in the face of crushing adversity. Without it, even the most skilled and gifted individuals will shatter under pressure. But with it, even ordinary people can achieve the most extraordinary feats of success. Think about the most celebrated figures in human history. Was their journey a smooth, effortless ascent to the top? Absolutely not. Every great invention, every masterpiece of art, every world-changing movement was built upon a foundation of gut-wrenching struggles, humiliating failures, and moments of profound, soul-crushing doubt. But the one simple difference between those who ultimately succeed and those who fade into obscurity is this: winners keep going when everyone else quits. One of the most powerful and enduring examples of resilience is the story of Thomas Edison. Before he finally gifted the world with the incandescent light bulb, he failed. He failed over 10,000 times. Imagine the sheer tenacity required for that. A journalist once asked him how it felt to fail so many times. His legendary response is the very essence of a resilient mindset. He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This is not just a clever turn of phrase. It is a revolutionary way of thinking. It is the conscious choice to see failure not as a final verdict, but as invaluable feedback. Most people quit after just a handful of failed attempts, defeated by the weight of their own disappointment. But those who cultivate true mental resilience keep pushing, keep learning, and keep iterating until they inevitably break through. So, how do you build this unshakable mental fortitude within yourself? The first and most critical step is to seize control of your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself during difficult moments will determine with almost perfect accuracy whether you persist or surrender. If your self-talk is a constant stream of negativity, "I can't do this. I'm just not strong enough. What's the point in even trying anymore?" you will systematically convince yourself to give up. But resilient people have learned to reframe their struggles. They have mastered the art of being their own coach, not their own critic. Instead of seeing obstacles as impenetrable roadblocks, they choose to see them as opportunities to grow stronger. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," they say, "This is making me more capable." Instead of, "I can't handle this," they declare, "I will figure this out." Another crucial component of building mental resilience is learning to embrace discomfort. So many people give up on their dreams because they have been sold the lie that success should be easy and comfortable. But the raw truth is that all growth, all progress, all evolution happens only at the edge of your comfort zone. Every single time you push through difficulty, whether it's forcing yourself out of a warm bed for an early morning workout, taking on a challenging project that scares you, or holding your ground in a difficult conversation, you are training your mind. You are forging new neural pathways of toughness and grit. The Navy SEALs, renowned for their almost mythical levels of mental resilience, operate on a simple but profound principle they call the 40% rule. This rule states that when your mind is screaming at you that you're done, that you have nothing left in the tank, you are actually only at about 40% of your true physical and mental capacity. The lesson is powerful and universal. Your mind will always try to quit long before your body needs to. Resilient people learn to recognize that voice of weakness, to thank it for its concern, and then to politely ignore it as they push far beyond their perceived limits. One of the most effective ways to train this resilience is by developing a challenge mindset. Instead of fearing or avoiding difficulties, you begin to actively seek them out. The more you expose yourself to controlled, manageable stress, whether it's through cold exposure, intense physical training, or learning a complex new skill, the more your mind adapts and grows stronger. This is precisely why elite athletes, groundbreaking entrepreneurs, and military leaders deliberately and repeatedly put themselves through grueling situations. They understand a fundamental law of human nature. Resilience is not something you are born with. It is something you build, rep by rep, in the gym of adversity. Another vital aspect of resilience is the ability to not take failure personally. This is a trap that ensnares so many promising individuals. They quit because they internalize failure. They believe it is a reflection of their intrinsic worth. But failure is never personal. It is simply data. Every setback is a lesson. Every mistake is feedback. Every challenge is a chance to refine your approach and come back stronger. Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player of all time, once perfectly articulated this mindset. He said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." The greatest winners in this world are often just the ones who have failed the most, but who refuse to let that failure define them. They never gave up. Resilience also requires a powerful, deeply personal why. When the going gets tough, when you are exhausted and beaten down, your reason for pushing forward must be more powerful than your temptation to quit. This is why purpose-driven people seem almost unstoppable. Whether your why is providing a better life for your family, proving something to yourself, or achieving a lifelong dream that sets your soul on fire, this purpose is the fuel that will keep your engine running long after your initial motivation has faded. Finally, you must surround yourself with resilience-minded people. You inevitably become like those you spend the most time with. If your inner circle is composed of people who constantly complain, make excuses, and give up at the first sign of trouble, their toxic mindset will infect you. But if you surround yourself with driven, relentless, and optimistic individuals, their energy, their belief, and their standards will push you to keep going, even when every fiber of your being wants to stop. In the final analysis, mental resilience is the great separator. It is what distinguishes those who achieve their dreams from those who settle for a life of quiet regret. It is not about intelligence or talent or luck. It is about the raw, unyielding ability to keep getting back up one more time than you get knocked down. Train your mind to see setbacks as stepping stones. Build the daily habit of pushing through discomfort, and never ever let failure have the final say. Because the profound truth is this: the only way you can truly fail is if you stop trying. Every single decision you make, from the monumental to the mundane, is a chisel strike upon the marble of your life, shaping your future. The small, seemingly insignificant choices, what you eat for breakfast, how you choose to spend your first hour of the day, the people you allow into your inner circle. These gradually, almost invisibly, compound to build the very fabric of the life you live. And then there are the big choices, your career path, your life partner, your major financial decisions, which can, in a single moment, alter your destiny, setting you on a course towards success or failure. The problem is, most people are never taught how to make decisions with confidence, clarity, and discipline. Some are paralyzed by hesitation, overthinking, and analyzing every possibility until the window of opportunity slams shut. Others are dangerously impulsive, making rash choices based on fleeting emotions that they later come to deeply regret. But what consistently separates the highly successful from the rest of the pack is their masterful ability to make smart, disciplined decisions, both quickly when necessary and effectively when it matters most. There are, broadly speaking, two systems of thinking when it comes to decision making: fast thinking and slow thinking. Fast thinking is your intuition, your gut instinct. It is the ability to make rapid, almost subconscious decisions in high-pressure, time-sensitive situations. Slow thinking, on the other hand, is deep, deliberate analysis. It involves careful planning, weighing the pros and cons, seeking counsel, and logically considering all the variables before committing to a course of action. Both systems are critically important, but the true key to decision-making mastery lies in developing the wisdom to know when to think fast and when to think slow. A brilliant example of fast, intuitive decision-making comes from the world of fighter pilots. When engaged in aerial combat, they do not have the luxury of creating a spreadsheet to analyze every possible maneuver. They must trust their years of training, their instincts, and react in milliseconds. Their uncanny ability to make the right split-second decisions is literally the difference between life and death. On the other end of the spectrum, consider a brilliant investor or a corporate strategist. Their work requires methodical, slow thinking. They spend countless hours analyzing market trends, assessing potential risks, and carefully planning their moves because they know that a single, ill-conceived decision could have catastrophic financial consequences costing millions. The biggest mistake most people make is applying the wrong type of thinking to the wrong situation. They rush into major life decisions that require careful analysis, or they get bogged down overthinking simple situations that demand swift action. So how do you discipline your mind to become a master decision maker? The very first step is developing the self-awareness to understand when to trust your instincts and when to pause, breathe, and analyze. Fast, intuitive decisions are most useful and reliable in situations where you have a deep well of experience to draw from, when the consequences of being wrong are relatively minor, or when time is a critical factor and hesitation itself would be a losing move. Slow analytical decisions, however, are absolutely necessary when the choice has significant long-term consequences, when you lack sufficient information and need to do more research and seek advice, or when the decision involves complex trade-offs and substantial risks. One of the most common and debilitating traps people fall into is analysis paralysis, the state of overthinking a situation so excessively that they never actually make a decision at all. This is often rooted in a deep-seated fear of making a mistake. But the hard truth is that indecision is often a far worse outcome than making the wrong choice. Why? Because a wrong choice can almost always be corrected. You get feedback, you learn a lesson, you adjust your course. But a missed opportunity, an opportunity lost to indecision, can never be recovered. An effective way to conquer analysis paralysis is by embracing the 80% rule. If you have gathered 80% of the information you feel is reasonably necessary, make the decision and move forward with conviction. Waiting for 100% certainty is a fool's errand. It will lead to perpetual inaction, as perfect information rarely exists in the real world. Another powerful strategy for disciplined decision-making is to ruthlessly prioritize your choices based on their urgency and importance. Many people squander their limited mental energy and willpower making dozens of decisions about trivial things that simply don't matter in the grand scheme of their lives, while neglecting the few pivotal decisions that do. instead of getting caught up in the endless stream of low-value distractions. You must train yourself to identify and focus your best thinking on the high-leverage decisions that will actually propel your life forward. This crucial mindset shift prevents you from draining your cognitive resources on things that don't contribute to your long-term success. One of the most overlooked yet profoundly impactful aspects of disciplined decision-making is the practice of removing emotion from the equation. A staggering number of bad decisions are made when people allow fear, greed, excitement, or frustration to cloud their judgment. A prime example can be seen in financial markets. People panic during market downturns and sell their investments at a loss out of fear, or they get swept up in irrational exuberance and buy into speculative bubbles without doing their research. Emotional decision-making almost invariably leads to regret. The most effective way to counteract this is to create a deliberate space between feeling and deciding. Before making any major choice, pause, take a step back, sleep on it, discuss it with a calm, rational person you trust. Successful decision makers are also masters of thinking beyond the immediate moment. A simple but incredibly useful mental model for this is the 10-10-10 rule. Before making a significant choice, ask yourself 3 questions. How will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes? How will I feel about it in 10 months? And how will I feel about it in 10 years? This simple exercise acts as a mental time machine, forcing you to step out of the emotional immediacy of the present and consider the long-term consequences and implications of your choices. Finally, to truly master the art of decision-making, you must commit to learning from your past mistakes. Every poor decision you've ever made is not a reason for regret, but an opportunity for growth. Instead of beating yourself up, become a detective. Analyze what led to the mistake. What flawed assumption did you make? What information did you ignore? How can you prevent a similar error in the future? And what timeless lesson can you extract from the experience? People who live in fear of making mistakes often remain stuck in a prison of inaction and indecision. But those who rigorously study their past choices, refine their thinking processes, and apply those hard-won lessons become progressively better and more effective over time. At the end of the day, the life you live is nothing more than the sum total of your decisions. Train your mind to skillfully balance instinct with logic. Learn to detach from emotion and make choices that are in alignment with your deepest values and your long-term vision. The ability to make disciplined decisions quickly when required and carefully when it counts is a rare and priceless skill that will separate you from the average and place you firmly on the path to extraordinary success. We arrive now at the final and perhaps most vital, discipline. The unwavering commitment to lifelong learning. Your mind is your greatest asset, the most powerful tool you will ever possess. But like any muscle, if it is not continuously trained, challenged, and nourished, it will atrophy. The world is in a constant state of flux, evolving at a dizzying pace. Those who stop learning, those who believe their education is complete, will inevitably be left behind. The most successful and impactful people throughout all of human history, in business, in science, in sports, in the arts, shared one profound common trait. They never, ever stopped learning. They understood that knowledge is not a destination you arrive at once. It is a continuous journey, a river you must constantly drink from. Yet the vast majority of people make the tragic mistake of believing that learning is a chapter of life that ends with formal schooling. They graduate, get a job, and slowly, imperceptibly, they stop investing in their own mental growth. Over time, their minds become stagnant, their skills become outdated, and they find themselves wondering why they feel stuck, uninspired, and trapped in life. The truth is, your ultimate success will not be determined by how smart you are right now. It will be determined by your hunger and your humility to continuously learn, adapt, and apply new knowledge as you move forward. One of the most awe-inspiring examples of a lifelong learner is Leonardo da Vinci. He was not just a painter. He was a master inventor, an engineer, a scientist, an anatomist, a musician, and a philosopher. His curiosity was a boundless, raging inferno. He never allowed himself to be confined to a single field of study. He filled thousands upon thousands of notebook pages with his observations, his questions, his experiments, and his discoveries, always pushing at the frontiers of what he knew. He instinctively understood that the more he learned, the more he could connect disparate ideas to create something truly revolutionary and extraordinary. This relentless, childlike curiosity is precisely what separates those who achieve timeless greatness from those who remain mired in the average. The primary challenge most people face today is not a lack of access to learning opportunities, but a profound lack of discipline in their pursuit of knowledge. In this digital age, we have at our fingertips more information, more wisdom, and more educational resources than any generation in human history. Yet most people squander this incredible privilege, choosing instead to consume a steady diet of mindless entertainment, celebrity gossip, and trivial distractions. The fundamental difference between those who continuously grow and those who remain stagnant is how they allocate their most precious, non-renewable resource, their time. Are you spending your evenings scrolling aimlessly through social media feeds, binge-watching reality television, and engaging in pointless online arguments? Or are you consciously choosing to feed your mind with books that challenge your thinking, documentaries that expand your worldview, and discussions that elevate your perspective? Every single choice you make is either sharpening your mind or allowing it to dull. A disciplined learner does not passively wait for knowledge to find them. They actively and aggressively hunt it down. One of the most effective and time-tested habits for cultivating a life of learning is reading. It is nearly impossible to find a highly successful person you admire who is not a voracious reader. Bill Gates reads approximately 50 books a year. Warren Buffett famously spends 5 to 6 hours of his workday reading. Oprah Winfrey, one of the busiest and most influential people on the planet, has consistently credited books with shaping her mind and her success. The reason reading is so uniquely powerful is that it grants you access to the minds of the greatest thinkers who have ever lived. Instead of being forced to learn everything the hard way through years of painful personal experience, you can download decades of wisdom and insight from those who have already walked the path before you. However, true lifelong learning extends far beyond the passive consumption of books. Real lasting growth comes from the active application of what you learn. Far too many people become shelf-help experts. They collect knowledge but never put it into action. They read dozens of books on fitness but never set foot in a gym. They study countless articles on entrepreneurship but never take the terrifying first step of starting a business. They listen to hours of motivational talks but never actually change their daily habits. Knowledge without action is nothing more than potential. It is useless. If you want to truly grow, you must make application a non-negotiable part of your learning process. If you read a book about leadership, immediately look for an opportunity to take on a leadership role, no matter how small. If you study the art of communication, start intentionally practicing those techniques in your real-life conversations. The more you apply, the more you test. The more you act on what you learn, the deeper and more integrated your understanding becomes. Another critical element of lifelong learning is intentionally surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to grow. If you are consistently the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. The people in your inner circle should inspire you, push you, and hold you to a higher standard. They should encourage you to think bigger, to act with more courage, and to strive for more than you currently believe is possible. Actively seek out mentors. Join mastermind groups with people who are playing the game at a higher level than you are. Engage in discussions that stretch you far beyond your intellectual comfort zone. Many of the world's most successful individuals attribute a huge portion of their growth to having the right mentors who guided them, corrected them, and saved them years of trial and error. Lifelong learning also requires you to radically reframe your relationship with failure. Many people avoid learning new things because they are terrified of looking foolish or making mistakes. But failure is not the opposite of success. It is an integral part of the learning process. It is simply feedback. The more mistakes you are willing to make, the more lessons you will gain, and the faster you will grow. Think about how a small child learns to walk. They fall down hundreds, perhaps thousands of times, yet they never give up. They never conclude, well, I guess walking just isn't for me. They don't see falling as failure. They see it as an essential part of learning. If you want to master anything meaningful in your life, you must adopt that same fearless mindset. Fail fast, learn faster, and keep moving forward with relentless determination. Another powerful strategy for disciplined learning is to set clear and specific learning goals. Instead of a vague desire like, I want to learn more, be precise. Decide exactly what skill or body of knowledge you want to acquire in the next 3 to 6 months. Then break it down into a structured plan with daily or weekly learning sessions. If your goal is to learn a new language, commit to 30 minutes of focused practice every single day. If you want to become an expert in a particular subject, schedule protected blocks of time for deep study and application. Learning should not be left to chance. It should be a deliberate and structured part of your daily routine. In the end, your ability to succeed in the rapidly changing landscape of life will depend directly on your ability to keep learning, adapting, and evolving. The world does not reward those who remain stagnant. It lavishly rewards those who stay curious, who stay humble, and who continuously work to improve themselves. If you discipline your mind to seek knowledge, to apply it fearlessly, and to never stop growing, there is absolutely no limit to what you can achieve. Lifelong learning is not a luxury. It is a fundamental necessity for anyone who desires to live a life of purpose, impact, and enduring success. The only question is, are you willing to make that commitment? Your mind is the most powerful, most magnificent, and most formidable tool you will ever possess. Every great success that has ever graced this world, every heartbreaking failure, every quantum leap of innovation, and every agonizing struggle began in the silent, fertile ground of a single thought. The way you think determines with unwavering certainty the way you live. If you learn to discipline this incredible power, to command your mind, you will gain ultimate control over your actions, your emotions, your decisions, and ultimately, your destiny. But if you allow your mind to run on autopilot, to be hijacked by the ceaseless distractions of the world, poisoned by negative emotions, and crippled by poor decision-making, you will simply drift through life, a ship without a captain, without purpose, and without direction. The choice, as always, is yours. Throughout this journey together, we have explored 7 essential, life-altering disciplines of thinking that hold the power to completely transform your existence. We began by learning to reprogram the mind, understanding the profound truth that our beliefs create our reality and that we must become the vigilant gatekeepers of what we allow into our mental garden. We then honed our ability to master our attention, discovering that in a world drowning in distractions, focus is a superpower. We delved into the art of emotional discipline, realizing that our reactions to life's events shape our destiny far more than the events themselves. We explored the immense power of strategic thinking, coming to understand that true success is not just about working hard, but about thinking ahead and making intelligent, calculated moves. We then forged our mental resilience, learning that setbacks and failures are not signs to stop, but are in fact stepping stones to greater strength and wisdom. We developed the skill of decision-making mastery, learning to balance our intuition with our logic and to ensure that every choice we make is a conscious step forward. And finally, we embraced the profound and never-ending discipline of lifelong learning, recognizing that those who continuously grow will always stay ahead in the game of life. Now we arrive at the most important question of all. What will you do with this knowledge? It is a sad truth that far too often people consume information but never apply it. They read the books, they watch the motivational videos, they fill notebooks with inspiring quotes, but they never take the courageous first step of action. Do not let that be your story. If you truly, deeply desire to discipline your thinking and change the trajectory of your life, you must begin to practice these principles not just once, but daily. Your mind will not transform overnight. It is a process. But every small, conscious step you take, every disciplined choice you make, will bring you closer to mastery. Start with just one habit. Perhaps it's training your focus for 25 minutes without interruption, or catching yourself before an emotional reaction and choosing to pause, or making one strategic decision that serves your future self, or reading for just 15 minutes a day. Commit to improving one single area at a time. Small disciplined actions compounded over time create massive, earth-shattering results. The path to a legendary life is not paved with luck, innate talent, or a high IQ. It is paved with discipline. The discipline to think differently than the masses. The discipline to push through the pain when others quit. The discipline to keep learning, adapting, and growing when others become complacent. The vast majority of humanity lives on the shallow surface of their true potential because they allow their minds to be ruled by fear, by distraction, and by the comfortable anesthesia of mediocrity. But those who choose to discipline their thinking, they rise above. They see opportunity where others see only problems. They find strength when others give up in despair. They continue to learn and evolve while others remain stagnant and obsolete. Today you stand at a crossroads. You can allow this to be just another piece of information that you passively consumed and will soon forget. Or you can make a decision right here, right now, to begin the sacred work of applying what you have learned. Success is never about what you know. It is, and always will be, about what you do with what you know. Start now. Train your mind. Seize control of your thoughts. Discipline your thinking, and you will, without a shadow of a doubt, discipline your life. Because in the end, those who master their minds master everything else. The only question that remains is, will you be one of them?